apes.
Spider
This is when
spawn.
apes somewhat obviously started walking upright and on 2 feet. There were a couple of different early semi-bipedal genera of apes, and these probably evolved into the Australopithecines, what we can call Grandma and Grandpa. Australopithecines weren't that different
Okay,
from
we're
other
level
ancient
14
African apes.
now?
They were about the same size, they had the same size brains. In fact, the first Australopithecines, like Lucy, the 3.2 million year old Australopithecus afarensis fossil found in Ethiopia in 1974, was probably about 1 meter tall and didn't look too different from a modern chimp. But we know that Lucy walked upright due to the shape of her bones, because we found fossil footprints of her buddies. And though there are a few different theories behind why bipedalism may have evolved, it seems to have happened just as the dense African forests were shrinking due to climate change. So early hominins may have been forced out onto the grasslands where bipedalism made it easier to spot predators, to travel long distances, and to pick fruit off trees. But bipedalism was most important because it freed up 2 of our limbs. When you got 2 hands just hanging out, not doing anything, the next obvious step is to pick a rock, start smashing stuff. Voila! You got an ape using a tool. And this led to the second major characteristic to advanced human evolution, a precision grip. As hominins evolved, they used their hands more and more for gripping, manipulating small objects, then swinging through trees, what have you. So, over time, the curved hands that we associate with chimps and gorillas were replaced with smaller, more nimble hands with powerful thumbs that you can see at the end of your arms right now. These hands were better suited for using slight tools, and our first tool-making ancestor may have been Homo habilis, aka handyman. Homo habilis is the first obviously human-like hominin in the fossil record, and he's thought to be the earliest member of the Homo genus. He first appeared about 2.4 million years ago and was probably the direct descendant of the Australopithecines. I have to say probably because, you know, it wasn't there, and there will always be holes in the fossil record. And Homo habilis probably couldn't have fixed your dishwasher, but he could totally have smashed it to pieces with a rock. In addition to acquiring more dexterous hands, Homo habilis ate meat. Its omnivorous diet was a new thing for previously vegetarian hominids, and it turned out to be another game changer for the genus Homo, because it kick-started the process of encephalization, or the growth of the brain in relation to the overall body mass. See, building and maintaining brains requires a ton of calories, so even though the first omnivorous hominins were probably scavenging gazelle scraps from saber-toothed cats or something, meat was a big enough part of their diet that their brain size
going to be like an hour-long video of this.
Some argue that Homo habilis was also probably the first human ancestor to figure out how to cook.
Take longer,
Cooking unlocks all
better
sorts of
have
calories
an
and
hour-long one than taking 3 hours to upload
so overall nutrition for these guys improved a lot
the 26-minute one.
And brains, as a result, got bigger. But it wasn't just brain size that evolved. The pattern of brain growth was really important too. Over time, our ancestors' temporal lobes, which housed the centers for language processing, the prefrontal cortices, which help with complex decision-making and moderating social behavior, grew disproportionately to the other parts of the brain. Some researchers think this had a lot to do with the vastly improved diet.
Some special, the gold we found in the last episode, and made them golden apples.
One reason for this can be found in the fossils of Homo ergaster, which came on the scene around 1.65 million years ago. A lot of people think it's the descendant of Homo habilis. They looked even more like modern humans than Homo habilis. They had smaller jaws and sharp teeth, and were taller and more slender. They were also probably the first mostly hairless hominids. But one very interesting detail is that Homo ergaster had hips so narrow as to make the unassisted delivery of a baby very difficult. And since ergaster had bigger brains, their babies' heads were probably also considerably larger than those of past hominin babies. So, baby heads were getting bigger as females' pelvises were getting smaller. The only solution was for babies to be born before their brains were fully formed so that they could pass through the birth canal. But this meant that after birth, babies were less developed, requiring more care than ever, and for a longer time. This required ergaster and later members of the Homo genus to develop another breakthrough that could only be possible with big, sophisticated brains.
This is let me talk because I'm being so laggy.
Which some believe to be the direct descendant of Homo ergaster, since they were very similar, with a couple of exceptions. Heidelbergensis had a much larger brain than ergaster. Some fossil skulls suggest that their brains could have been about as big as modern humans, and they seem to have been much more socially advanced. For instance, some scientists believe that Heidelbergensis was the first hominid species to bury their dead. But possibly the most important thing about Homo heidelbergensis is that many believe it's the direct predecessor to modern Homo sapiens. Possibly also to our thick-browed cousin, the Neanderthal Neanderthals, aka Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, or Homo neanderthalensis. One theory is that a population of heidelbergensis remained in Africa, and modern humans descended from them, while other heidelbergensis hoofed it up through Europe, and Neanderthals derived from that group. This, like many other things in human evolution, is hotly contested. What we do know is that Neanderthals and modern humans actually hung out together for about 30,000 years. Neanderthals lived across Europe from 200,000 to 28,000 years ago, and though they had pronounced brow ridges and were heavier set than we are, they looked pretty similar to modern humans. Their brains seem to have been a bit larger than ours, and modern humans and Neanderthals apparently shared some cultural habits, like burying our dead, making art, and using tools to beat the crap out of each other. And of course, they totally found something to get it on with each other. We've been able to reconstruct almost the entire Neanderthal genome, and it turns out that about 2.5% of our DNA is from some Neanderthals who, I guess, some of our great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmothers spent a crazy night with in a cave in Israel. So that brings us up through modern humans, but the story of our ancestry is always changing, because exciting discoveries are being made all the time. For instance, in 2004, researchers found fossils of Homo floresiensis, aka the Hobbit, a tiny person that lived until about 13,000 years ago in what is now Indonesia. Even more recently, in 2008, fossils of a new people, the Denisovans, or Denisova hominin, were discovered. Researchers think may have overlapped and possibly interbred with modern humans. And the discovery of Australopithecus sediba, also in 2008, has some paleoanthropologists in a dither about whether it could be the real direct progenitor for the genus Homo, and also the first tool maker. So it's an exciting...
There's redstone. Why do I always forget to make a shovel before I go mining? I always forget to make a shovel. Sorry, I'm tired from making this morning. I was up all night making this morning video. I'm hoping we can find some diamonds. And look at that, a shortcut back to the village. Who knew? I'd probably like screaming, eat! Sorry for going on, it just takes so much time for everything to reload between pauses. Yeah, we're just going in circles now. How long are we going? I think I'll save this now and see you later.